In 1949, after the Second World War, the Canadian government began developing the Avro Arrow CF-105, a supersonic jet meant to intercept Soviet bombers that had the potential to reach North American shores. Many experts considered the CF-105's speed, altitude, and aerodynamic capabilities to be unparalleled at the time. However, spiraling costs inhibited potential sales to allies in the Royal Canadian Air Force. As a result, the Canadian government cancelled the project in 1959. 30,000 people were immediately out of work, and all CF-105s and their supporting documentation were destroyed. On July 14, 2017, OEX Recovery Group announced that it had selected Kraken Sonar's Thunderfish autonomous underwater vehicle to conduct the search for 9 CF-105 models at the bottom of Lake Ontario. The 1/8 scale models were launched from the shore to test the Arrow's aerodynamics. They crashed into the lake and have remained there ever since. Last week, OEX Recovery Group announced that it had found one of the models. We caught up with Kraken Sonar CFO Reid to learn about the company's role in the search and to get an update on upcoming catalysts.
So this is Marcel. We're at the Raise the Avro event, and I have the CFO of Kraken Sonar Systems, Reid, who actually, their company put the technology onto the AUV, which is looking for the Avro model. So Greg, why don't you just tell our viewers a little bit about the company?
Sure, thanks Marcel. We're an underwater robotics company based out of St. John's, Newfoundland. We provide ultra-high definition imaging for underwater items. We started as a sensor company providing our sensors on other people's underwater vehicles. We've since evolved to providing our own underwater vehicles. They could be tethered or they could be completely autonomous, or what's known as an AUV, an autonomous underwater vehicle.
And so how did you get involved in this event? Did they come to you and they knew about your technology? Because I know this technology was vetted by the U.S. Navy, and other navies have deployed it, your sensor technology anyways, and now you've moved into systems. But how did Kraken Sonar get into this event?
So our background is the technology is called SAS, or synthetic aperture sonar, and there's only a handful of companies in the world that have SAS technology, ourselves and then 3 or 4 other major international defense companies. We're a Canadian company. The Raise the Avro expedition is backed by Canadians. We had worked on the Franklin expedition back in 2014 with our technology, and just through word of mouth and it being a small industry, when John Brzezinski and his team were looking to do this job, they had come across Kraken through a connection, and it was also at the same point where we had just received our first autonomous underwater vehicle called Thunderfish. And so not only did we have the imaging technology, but we now had our own vehicle. We could provide the full so-called soup to nuts solution for them.
But this isn't the only contract you guys are working on. You had just announced a large $3 million Canadian contract with a company called Ocean Infinity, who I believe is their seabed mapping, seabed intelligence. And this is pretty significant because just doing some research behind their vehicles, I saw that their vehicles came from a company called Kongsberg, who I believe is one of your competitors. So.
Yeah, so it's a somewhat complicated industry. We've traditionally sold sensors that sell for $300,000 or $400,000 onto other people's vehicles. Now we have our own vehicle called Thunderfish, which we will do a couple things. We will sell those vehicles for $3 million plus, but we will also lease them and do jobs like the Avro job, which we call robotics as a service offering. And the contract that we announced earlier this week with Ocean Infinity, Ocean Infinity is a company that have bought 8 Kongsberg AUVs, so these orange torpedo-shaped AUVs. What's significant about it is, beside it being a $3 million contract, which is very material for us, it's the first time Kongsberg has ever been displaced from their own vehicles in terms of their imaging sonars. So Kongsberg's a competitor of ours both on the vehicle side, but they have SAS sensors also. And in this case, the customer, rather than using Kongsberg SAS sensors, is using our SAS sensors, which really validates what we've been trying to get out all along in terms of a message, is our value proposition to the industry.
I believe you also have bigger things on the horizon. There's been some military contracts that you guys have been shortlisted on. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so historically most of our business has been in the military, so what's called MCM, or mine countermeasures. in the what you're referring to on the shortlist job is there's a large Far East Navy which is it's upgrading its mine hunter fleet as well as its mine countermeasures equipment. The down select is now down to 2 major international defense companies. We're partnered with one of them, which is a European company. Our piece of the business, if we're successful winning it, would be north of $50 million in revenue, which is a step magnitude from where we are today. Trials, the technical bake-off is going to happen here in Q4, and then after that, the contract award is expected in Q1. So we still don't know if we're going to win, but at least we have 50-50 odds right now. Besides being a large contract. And it just highlights as well that we're partnered with some big companies that bring us to market on big opportunities, and as I said, there's only a handful of companies in the world that have the capability that we do. So we've got some good partnerships which will drive business for us.
So good things on the horizon for Kraken Sonar. So for investors that want to invest, the stock ticker is PNG on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture Exchange. And again, this is Marcel Valentine with Reid, CFO of Kraken Sonar.
Thanks, Marcel.
Thank you, Greg.